Okay, so we are going to walk through the WordPress installation process. This is a very important lecture, so I want to encourage you to watch this from beginning to end because I'm going to show you how you'll set up your WordPress environment, how you'll install it. What I have done is I have created an instance on a server for each one of you, and you will have the information on how to complete the install in your Canvas inboxes. There's also detailed information included in the WordPress landing page assignment. So take note of both of those locations because I'm going to refer to where that information will be inputted as well as the assignment has it outlined. WordPress works off of PHP and a MySQL database. What I have done for each of you is I have uploaded the necessary WordPress files to a location on the server, which I'll provide for you. You don't have to worry about uploading these files. It's already taken care of, but they're all PHP files. It's the code language that WordPress is written in. Then there is a database that controls all of the content and information that is used within WordPress. So what has to be done is these files have to be connected and synced to that database, and that completes the WordPress installation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to the location where I've uploaded the files for my WordPress website. Each of you will have your own link provided in Canvas that you'll navigate to. Once I go here, I instantly start the installation process for WordPress. So I'm going to choose my language, and then there's a confirmation screen for information that WordPress is asking for you because you have to have it in order to continue. Again, this information is outlined in the assignment as well as your emails within Canvas for what you need to input in the next section. So you can go ahead and skip this and just click Let's Go. The first thing it's going to ask for is your database name. I've provided each of you with a unique database name. For mine, that's my database. Your database will also have a username. For mine, it's Prof. Bacon. And then for each database, there's a password. In your Canvas inbox, you will have all three of these fields provided for you. You just have to input them here. The next section will be the same for everyone. The database host is just the subdomain wp.ius-web-design.com. It's the same domain that we're using, but I've installed a subdomain to host the database for us. Again, this is provided in Canvas, but it'll be the same for everyone. The table prefix you can just skip. We'll use the default that WordPress is providing. If we inputted this information correctly, we can press submit. WordPress tests the connection to the database. Everything's good to go. You get a confirmation to run the installation. When you run the installation, WordPress wants to know specific information about your WordPress website. So from here on, we are talking specifically about our WordPress website. This is no longer the database. So what's our site's name? I'll just say IUS Web Design Class. Now it wants you to create a username and password. This is different than the previous one. This is one that you're going to create. You're going to create a username that you know and a password that you're going to remember. Provide your email. This is very important because if you don't provide your email and you forget your password, you cannot reset it on your own. You'll have to go through me in order to reset it. So be sure to use a valid email address. This section right here, this is only used for development purposes only. This would discourage Google, Yahoo, Bing from trying to index your website for you. It's only necessary if you plan to be in development mode for months at a time. If you plan to go live within a few days to a few weeks, that generally is not enough time for Google to come and crawl your site, so it's not going to index anything that's in development. For my purpose, I'm going to go ahead and leave it unchecked. Click Install WordPress. Within a matter of few seconds, WordPress is installed for you and you're prompted to log in. Now, before I log in, I want to show you, this is what WordPress will look like as soon as it's done being installed. Before, when we went to this URL, we were prompted to install WordPress. Now, this is our WordPress website's homepage. Now I'm going to log into WordPress by clicking Login. Within your Canvas emails, you will also be given this URL for you in case you lose it. This is WordPress's unique login URL. It'll be the same for everyone with the exception of what username you're directed to. Now, I can input a username and password and log in to WordPress. Congratulations, you have now installed WordPress, and this is your WordPress dashboard. Let's walk through a few basic things about WordPress. The WordPress dashboard refers to the back end of WordPress. Within the WordPress dashboard, you're always taken to this screen upon login. The dashboard can be configured for each user. You'll see additional information on here depending on what themes and plugins you install throughout using WordPress. These window panes can be reorganized or removed. You can even use screen options to show windows that have been removed. I don't spend a whole lot of time on this section, except this welcome section here. It's pretty useful because it gives you everything you need to get started with WordPress. Writing a blog post, adding an about page, setting up your home page, managing widgets. I encourage you to take a look at this and use this the first time you've installed WordPress because it helps you get to know your website. I also want to point out that there is a top black admin bar and there is a left black admin bar. The top admin bar will be seen the entire time you're logged into your site. For example, if I hover over my site's name and go to visit site, I still see my black admin bar. The reason for this is this allows me to get back to the dashboard. I can also maneuver and navigate through my website and it's always going to be there. So now let's go back to the dashboard. And we see the left-hand navigation. This left-hand navigation, that's your administrative menu. This lets you create posts, add media files, create pages, manage comments, work with your themes, add and remove plugins, add users, and other installation tools and settings. I want to point out a few key things. Your pages are your main landing pages. Pages usually do not have dated content on them. Pages are a home page, an about page, a contact page, a landing page that may bring in other pages. Posts are article pages that are dated content. Examples of posts would be news releases, blog posts, blog articles, calendar events, news articles. Those are usually dated and can be up forever, or you can pull them down after a certain amount of time. You can create a page called a blog landing page and pull all of your blog into that page if you wanted to. In another lecture, I'll go into some detail about that. Plugins allows you the ability to install one of thousands of plugins that are out in the WordPress community. When the website first gets installed, you're going to have the two default plugins that WordPress gives with every single installation. You won't need these plugins. They're specifically here for two reasons. One, Akismet is put out by Automatic. In one of my previous lectures, I referenced Automatic, which is the team behind WordPress. This is a revenue generator for them. They're going to install this on every single one of their sites or WordPress installs because one, WordPress is free, and two, they want to encourage you to purchase this because it helps them make money. The Hello Dolly is one of the first plugins ever made by WordPress. All it does is bring in quotes from the theater play or from the theater musical Hello Dolly. It does no other purpose except for developers, they use this as a starting point when they're developing a WordPress plugin. For our purposes, we're not going to use either of them, so I'm going to select them both and I'm going to drop them. But what I will do is I'm going to add a new plugin. When you add a new plugin, you're first shown all of WordPress's featured plugins. These are the most popular plugins as of today that are downloaded and installed on WordPress websites. It's not uncommon to see a Kismet up here because it's on every single WordPress install the minute it gets installed. It's not uncommon to see this classic editor. I'm going to point this out because you can use WordPress in two different ways. I'm going to install this, and then I'm going to activate it. Now that this is activated, I have the choice to configure some settings, but I first want to show you why I'm using this. Let's go ahead and come up to the top black admin bar, and we're going to create a new page. When we go to create a new page, we see the classic editor. This classic editor has been around since almost the beginning of WordPress itself. It's a basic editor that lets you design and build pages using a few tools. If you go to settings, general, I think it is, or they may have moved it. Let's see. Yep, settings, writing. Because we installed that classic editor, we now have the option to switch from classic editor to block editor. Block editor is WordPress's new editor, and I'll show you what that looks like. We're going to switch to block editor, and I'm going to go to new page again. Now we see their new block editor. The nice thing about this is it's going to walk you through how to use the editor where the previous one doesn't. It just assumes you know how to use it. So take a look at the block editor and take a look at the default editor, but I think you'll find the block editor gives you more control and feel of the layout and what you can do with with WordPress itself. The nice thing about the block editor is you can start off the bat editing the page, including your site title or your page title. And information that you want on the page. In addition to that, you have the settings on the right, as well as additional information up here. At first glance, it looks like you don't have a lot, but as you start to use this, Grammarly thinks that I should be, grading this right now. As you start to use this, you'll see that there's more things that you can do than just editing content. You can create lists. You can add images. You can just add a simple paragraph. Sorry about Grammarly. You can add headings, quotes. You can add a gallery, or you can browse any of the many widgets that they now have available to you using the block editor. If this is too much for you, you can always switch back to the default editor, but I think you'll like this editor. In addition to all this, because it's a block editor, you have the ability to rearrange your content however you want. When you preview the content, you can preview in desktop tablet, or mobile so that you can understand the responsiveness of the design. Out of the box, WordPress is responsive. When you publish a page, you have the ability to edit the page again after viewing it. Now let's jump back to the dashboard. I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to go back to Tools, Settings, Writing. Forgot they moved it. And then go back to the Classic Editor. This time I'm going to go to the post and create a new post. See the difference? See the basics of just the page, the Classic Editor versus the new block editor? So now let's go back to Settings, Writing again. Now, why does WordPress give you two options? 2 years ago, when they came out with the block editor, a lot of WordPress websites crashed. They didn't do enough research to find out that a lot of plugins and themes were just not compatible with the new block editor. Plus, the onboarding process was very archaic, and people were so used to using the classic editor that it did not get a lot of support. Fast forward 2 years, they now have a better onboarding process. They let you install the classic editor and switch back and forth. However, the release says that they will end that next year and all WordPress websites will only have the block editor. The reason why I want you to install the classic editor is just to get a feel of either of those two editors. You don't have to use both of them. I just want you to have the ability to choose which one you want to use. In addition to the plugins, you also have an appearance section which lets you control the theme and widgets. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on that in our next lecture. But for this assignment, what you do need to have established is you do need to create at least one page and you also need to create at least one post. Then you will send me the links to both of those. All you need to do is submit the post link and the page link so that I can review your install. Any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me.